So we've got introduced. Let's talk a little bit about the stuff we need to bring to a presentation. This might kind of sound obvious, but if you're a contractor or you're a chiropractor or a CPA, that's what you do. You don't know what to always bring and why it's important. And again, the reason I include something like this is because I've had some sort of horrific thing happen that I want you to avoid, right? So, there's as much to be learned by this video series as there is to be avoided that I can teach you. So, the first thing that's pretty obvious is the AV. My recommendation is this. If they tell you we've got it covered, bring your stuff. I still bring a projector everywhere I bring everything except a screen, and there's been even times where I've brought the screen too. So, I'm not suggesting you have to go out and spend thousands of dollars right away, but it's not a bad idea to make an investment in a projector if you want to become a business speaker. They've come way down in price. You don't need a super fancy one, but you never know what happens. And so if you can have your own stuff, I think you'll be happy that you do that. So projectors, speakers, microphones, extension cords, your cabling, your power strips, all that stuff. What I like to do is I keep a separate box. It's labeled AV. Whenever I have a gig, I just pick it up and throw it in the car, and that's it. So the old days I used to pack and repack and pack and repack, and now I just leave it all in there. Obviously, my laptop's the only thing that I have to kind of bring separately because I use that on a regular basis. So AV is important, but don't rely on them. Much like your introduction, that it's on you. You gotta bring it. So, and that leads to the laptop. Always bring your own one. They'll tell you, oh, we've got a laptop. Just bring it on a thumb drive. The thumb drive is the kiss of death. I'll talk about that in a moment, but just make sure you bring your own laptop for, with so many different versions of so many different software, and then God forbid that there's a Mac and an IBM or a PC trying to play together. It's just not worth it. So what I do is I bring both. If they say bring a thumb drive, I bring my PowerPoint on a thumb drive, but I also bring my laptop with it on the laptop ready to go. So just something to do, which leads to kind of the next point, which is PowerPoint formats. Again, you might not think about this, but you don't know what version of PowerPoint they're running, and there's actually 2 or 3 different versions now. So sometimes the fonts, the images, all those sorts of things that you designed it with won't play well, won't show up on an older version. I had an example where I showed up at a big conference, one of the biggest speaking engagements I had, and they had one of those big AV areas with 2 people running the whole lights and all the deal. And they said, just bring us your PowerPoint on a thumb drive. And so I did it, and whatever they were using and whatever I was using was not compatible because they couldn't find it. And I was literally supposed to go on stage in 20 minutes or something like that, and I'm just and there's a speaker on stage, so they couldn't stop what they were doing. So I had this moment of panic, and we ended up solving the problem. It was a format problem, and so from there on out, I always save my PowerPoints in both the I think it's the 2003, 2007 version, the older and the newer. We'll just put it that way, depending on whenever you listen or watch this. Keep it on the most recent 2 versions, and save them both to your thumb drive and save them both to your computer just in case. It's just better to be safe than to be sorry. But I think right now, as we record this, the 2 predominant versions are 2003 to 2007. That's kind of one group, and then 2010 and newer. So it's getting better, but we still see issues in that. And if you want one little extra little kind of side note tip on your PowerPoints, is I also email myself a copy if you're going to fly to an engagement or go long distance. You never know what's going to happen in the car. You don't know what's going to happen in the airport. So I'd like to know that I at least have it accessible somewhere. So the PowerPoint formats are kind of a good little secret weapon to have in your back pocket to avoid stress. Handouts. you'll ask, they'll tell you, hey, we're going to have 20 people, and then there's like 40. So I always print 10 to 20% more. The extras you can leave on the back table, and if you don't make them event specific or date specific, then you can use them again, and you're not wasting any paper. Or you can do a soft handout, so you could hand it, follow up and send it to the meeting planner so they can distribute it. And that's a nice way to follow up. Say, hey, rather than printing them out, we're going to email them to you. So just make sure you sign up for our list or you send it to the meeting planner. So handouts are great, but you definitely want to make sure if you're going to do them, if you're going to a conference, same thing, save it on that thumb drive, because they might get damaged or something happens, and especially if they're a critical part of your presentation, you want to make sure you have an extra copy of those hanging around. So handouts are good. Marketing materials, these are little things that stand out. So if you're going to speak, have your brochures, have your business cards, have a nice skirt to the table, and make sure you bring enough stuff. It's kind of embarrassing if they give you a 6-foot table and all you can throw down are your little 3 by 5 inch business cards, and you try and spread them out over the table to make it look like you have something. So it's okay if you don't have product, but have a little signage, have a little display. Be prepared to display yourself as a professional. Looks nice. Next thing is dress. Another area where I made some big blunders early on. I did some speaking in the college market in the beginning, and I just was overdressed. I was going in a suit, and they're in jeans and t-shirts, and it makes it tough to connect to the audience that way. So definitely important to know the dress code of the event and then plan accordingly. If it's the college market, wear jeans and a jacket or something like that. But the rule of thumb generally is to dress just one step above the audience. So for a lot of the business groups, I'm in a suit but with no tie, because a lot of them are in khakis and a nice shirt. So you have to do what's comfortable for you. Be you, do you. If you're in an industry that typically wears ties or business suits, if you're one, then by all means go ahead and do that route. But pay attention to the dress and make sure that you're dressed accordingly. And then the last one is the meeting information. I just like to create a folder. And so everything I gather, the meeting information sheets, maybe some of my notes, maybe your outline if you really want to, directions, your printed bio. I put all that in one folder. That way when I get there, I've got it all in one place. And if anything was lost or I need copies of it, I've got it to go to and easy to access. So I kind of create a little meeting folder for each speaking engagement. The other nice thing about that is that I can file it later, whether you want to scan it or just hard file it. And it's nice to be able to go back and say, oh, I spoke at that one conference, and how did I outline that talk? And you can go back and see some of your notes. So it's nice that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time.